I am very excited to welcome you to today's Ask an Autistic session for Activate. So, very excited to introduce you to our panelists and take your questions. But before we get started with all that, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping and let you know who we are. Hopefully, you know who we are if we're here. But Activate stands for Autistic Community through Advocacy, Training, and Empowerment. And it is a pan-European initiative funded by Erasmus and UCAP is here. So there's lots of great partners involved. And the Ask an Autistic project is one of the flagship initiatives, and you are now a part of it. So whether you are watching this on recording or participating live, we are so glad you're here. Personally, a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Angela Kingdon. I run the Autistic Culture Institute in the UK, but you may notice I have not a very UK accent. So I live in Europe by way of a European partner. And I am very, very happy to be in Europe. And I will leave it at that. But for today's discussion, we have young participants from around Europe who you are going to get to meet shortly and ask questions of. Well, we are going to get started, and we are going to start with the first question, which has been sent in advance, but I'm capitalizing on it a little bit. So I want you to meet all three of our panelists. So I'm going to ask each of you to start off by answering this question, and let's use this as an opportunity for a quick introduction. So here is the question. First of all, can you say your name so we get that pronunciation the way you like it said, the country or countries that you live in? Sometimes people live in multiple countries, live in, represent, have connection to. I'd love to hear your pronouns. Mine are she, her. But if you would like to share your pronouns, that would be great. And then I want to hear, what expression do you prefer in English when talking about yourself and your autistic peers? Do you say autistic person? Do you say I'm autistic? Do you say autist? Do you say person with autism? On the spectrum? I want to hear a little bit more about your identity. So pronouns, how you describe your neurodivergence, and then name and country. And Meri, only because you're next to me on the screen, you get the honor of going first. I'm going to let you unmute and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Meri. It can be pronounced Meri, that's fine. Or if you want to be extra correct, Meri. But what were the other questions?
Yep. So it's name, where you're from, pronouns, and how do you identify in terms of your autistic label?
I'm I'm from Finland. Uh, yeah. I'm fine with any pronouns. Uh, and I call myself autistic, uh, though I don't really feel any difference between the different ways of labeling.
So if somebody said to you, like, oh, she has autism or she's on the spectrum.
I mean, that'd be, well, I don't know.
You don't really love it. You're like,
I
eh.
I'm not sure. I think it just depends on the tone.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, does it matter if it's like a teacher that you hate who's like, she's autistic, as opposed to, oh yeah, she's autistic. Like I was talking to her the other day. She loves whatever, this band or something.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can you tell me a little about Finland in general? Is there like a preferred term, like obviously you have to translate it to English for me, but like, is there a term that you hear most often or that people seem to like?
Well, really, yeah, in Finland we do say like I feel like it's a lot more common to hear autistic than like with autism or having autism. Um, like they're
Yeah.
they're about the same.
Okay, cool.
They sound the same to me.
All right, good insights, good insights. Nice to meet you. I'm not going to try and say your name the correct way. I will continue calling you Mary, so I don't butcher your beautiful accent. So, Tomas, you are up. Would love to hear a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, as I'm Thomas, Tom. Uh, I I'm okay with all pronouns. I live in the Czech Republic, and most of the people I have met use on the spectrum. They are on the
Oh,
spectrum, yeah. But I'm autistic. I'm on the spectrum. I'm autistic and I'm on the spectrum. These two terms I'm best with.
okay. Very interesting. And would you say on the spectrum is like the most common way people, like young people, would refer to themselves? So it
Hmm.
has like, does it have warm, fuzzy feelings?
Sorry?
Like, does it have a good feeling when you say on the spectrum? Does that feel like community or positive, like not medical or disordered?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's uh, they want usually they want to avoid of being uh being looked at as in medical terms, if you
Yeah.
understand me.
Okay, I do.
They prefer I'm on the spectrum, like, because it's the spectrum, it's a spectrum, and someone has classic autism, Asperger's syndrome, Asperger's.
Is that still in Czech Republic? Is Asperger's still a diagnosis that people get or a name or a term that people use?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes
Would you
they
use
can.
that?
What exactly?
Asperger's. Would you say Asperger's?
Yeah, yeah, I use it. I use it sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Very helpful and
Uh,
interesting. Thank you. Guys, we would love to hear your questions. You can just type them into the chat. There is someone from either UCAP or Activate that's there who will help moderate the chat. I do have questions that were sent in advance. So if that was you, then thank you for sending in your questions in advance. I just wanted to tip that off before we now turn to Nikolas. Nikolas, tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, what your pronouns are, and how you identify.
Hello, my name is Nikolas. I'm from Greece. I live at the steps of Mount Olympus, and my pronouns are he, him, and I believe I was also diagnosed with Asperger syndrome when I was 9, and I don't mind being called autistic. That's the term. So yeah.
So you're good with either. What would you say is most common in Greece?
Well, when most people hear someone that's autistic and says like I'm autistic, they think they're mentally ill. So most people would call them mentally ill
Oh my. Okay.
at school. So when you hear like someone, they use it as a slur.
Huh. And more, it would, the term autistic would sound more like mental illness than learning disability? Or would it also sound like a learning
I think
disability?
many people see it as a mental disability, think that's what it is, but some people know it as a learning, you know, disability, or, you know.
Right. That's so interesting because I would say like there are misconceptions of what autism is in every country. It's so telling that even the misconceptions are different everywhere. There's such a lack of information. So that's fascinating. Um, okay, well, you guys, I love that your introductions. I really appreciate that. I have a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you each next. I am not going to make Meri go first every time, though. I do want you to know that. So, what I would love, I'm going to ask this next question. If you're in the audience and you have thoughts on this question you'd like to share, feel free to put them in the chat. Or if you're watching this on video and there are comments available where you're watching it, I'd love to hear your answer too. I will call on you, but Meri, I promise I won't make you go first this time. So you will have time to reflect.
It's
Okay.
greatly appreciated.
Yes. So the first question I have is there something that you wish people understood better about the way you think and the way your mind works? So is there something you wish people understood better about you? And is there anything for the three of you that immediately comes to mind that's maybe a recurring theme in your life of like, why don't people get this about me? Is anyone inspired to go first? All right, Nikolas, I'm going to nominate you.
For the question you've asked, I think people will think the way they think, so there's no reason to get mad at people
Mm.
when you're doing something that people see a certain way. You shouldn't get mad at them. I believe you should change or curve around the way people see it, you know.
Mm. Wow, that's very nice. That's very zen. I love your calm around that. Do you feel like you've always had that attitude, or have you had to learn that?
When I was in middle school, because now I'm in high school, I'm 15. I used to get bullied a lot. People didn't like me, and I was really aggressive with my with the kids around me. So a lot of parents wanted to like throw me out of the school and stuff like that because I was always hitting other kids because they were making fun of me the way I acted, you know.
Huh.
I couldn't pronounce the words well in school because I came from America originally, from Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I couldn't pronounce the words well, and like kids always made fun of me, and I was like hitting them, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, I never had a chance in middle school because middle school in Greece is 6 years. I never had a chance to ever have a friend. I had one single friend in my whole life since I was 12, and that made me like you know, all that mental stress, you know, make me change the ways I think and act, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what happened with my experience.
Yeah. Did you have, I don't know, a mentor or a guide or like, did you do that work to change your mind about that on your own or did somebody help you?
I think, well, I'll explain to you how I am now. Um, so a lot of things have happened in my life, and I've passed through depression, you know, and many stuff, you know. I won't explain them all. So, uh, I've turned in my life right now. I'm slightly apathetical towards other things, and I'm trying to work on my apathy with, you know, psychiatrist. So I I don't see people as being faulty in any way, but I don't see them in any kind way.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's it's better than the negative framing. You've just, instead of going from negative to just like everything's positive and perfect, you're in more of like a neutral place right now.
Yeah, it's not like I hate other people, it's that I care little about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was trying to go.
Yeah. Have you had a good experience with psychological help? It sounds like you're like in therapy. Like, has that
Yeah,
been helpful for you or mixed or terrible or well, like where would you rank it?
I don't like therapy, to be honest.
Me neither.
It's not the specific person I go to or anything else, but I, you know, I've had um a lot of mental breakdowns in these last 2 years of my life.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very aggressive when I have like these breakdowns of stress and anger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't only have like autism. I have because I was so stressed this last year. I have a disorder, a food disorder, not anorexia, but like another food disorder where my stomach is very weak for some reason because
Mm.
of stress. So those are like the reasons I go to the psychiatrist.
Hmm. Do you feel like it helps?
I don't know yet. I
Okay.
take some medicine for,
Mm-hmm.
stress. It's called Intact.
Okay.
So he put me on those medicines, but I'm not sure if it helps. I have this stomach problem for 4 months now.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, obviously, you probably know autism and stomach problems are highly correlated. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Nicholas. Mary or Thomas, would you like to share if there's something you wish people understood better about you? Thomas, you're up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because I have sensory issues. I have extremely sensitive sense of smell.
Mm.
So doctor said is 3 times sensitive than normal person. So everything circles around the sense of smell, and people just say, you can handle this. You will do that. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Try harder.
I said, and I said, no, I can't. I can't. I'm tired. I'm just I want to rest. I want to rest. Just I can't go there because it stinks there, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And people are like, what? What are you talking about?
Right. They can't even smell it. So, when one of the things people know, I think, about autism is we often wear headphones. I'm a big loops person. I always have loops near me, right? It's obviously, if you're very sensitive to sound, there is an obvious accommodation. What is the one for smell that you have found? What's the equivalent? Can we stick things up your
Uh,
nose?
Nose pads. The
Oh, yeah.
cellular nose pad, the cellular that I use when doctors give you an injection or something. They disinfect it. They clean it by it. So nose pads. I call it nose pads.
Does it work?
Yeah, it works
Okay.
really, really, really successfully because when I get overwhelmed, I the first thing I do, and it helps most of the time, I just turn off my sense of smell
Hmm.
by nose pads, and it's okay, it's fine.
Wow.
10 minutes, and I'm okay, ready to go.
Yeah.
But
I want to
uh,
talk about there's an experience I think a lot of autistic people have when someone has an expectation of what you can do. Like, come on, it doesn't really smell. Like, rally. It's going to be so much fun. You'll like it. I want you to share, what does that feel like when someone's trying to convince you your experience is not accurate of yourself?
When people are trying to convince me,
Yeah, they're trying to convince you like you don't really understand yourself. I understand you better. Like you should do it. How does that
yeah,
make you feel?
I see your point. I see your point. Then I say, okay, I wish you could see it. I wish you could
Hmm.
you could go to it. Yeah, but you can't. So you don't have the right to judge me and say what is right and what is good for me. I know it
Hmm.
because I live in my body. I live my life. I have experiences, my experiences, not you.
Do you actually say that or do you think it?
I say that. I mostly
You
say that.
do.
I
Has
do.
that
I do.
always been easy for you to say?
Sorry?
Has it been hard to learn how to advocate like that, or is that easy for you?
Sometimes easy, sometimes not. Depending on on who you're talking with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's it. Yeah. And as for the thinking, I think you can't. I just try to. I just try to let people know. I
Mm-hmm.
I think this way. You think that way. It's
Mm-hmm.
different. Yeah. Let's find some compromise to understand each other.
Mm-hmm. But that's hard when it's a boss. If it, a boss or a teacher or somebody with like authority over you, they don't always want to compromise.
Yeah. But then you say, okay. Then I say, okay. I'm not gonna talk with you because I don't feel you are listening to me.
Hmm. All
Uh,
right.
I
You
will, I
have
will,
such a good sense of self. I think that is very impressive.
I will talk to you when you are willing to uh, hear me.
Hmm. Nice. Okay. Mary, I would love to hear a little bit from you now on what you wish people understood better about the way you think.
I uh had a hard time thinking of anything like directly that would be like about me. But uh I think more usually I just want I just wish people would understand other things that I also understand.
Yeah, like what?
Like like if if there's if I've figured out the solution to some
Mm,
social disagreement and everybody else seems still confused about it, I just think it's so simple.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
or yeah, there and maybe some other better examples that I can't think of right now.
I I want to ask you a question, and if it's not comfortable, you can just say pass and we'll move on. But
Okay.
you have a very noticeable style, and I wonder if you've ever gotten, I don't know, people, I'm thinking like parents, grandparents, maybe other bosses saying they don't like something about like your self-expression, and if that has been hard.
I I never have.
All
Um,
right.
I I don't really I don't go out like this like every day, but I feel like in here like well my experience where I've lived is where like no one really like says anything about
All right, let's hear it
how
for Finland.
how you yeah, but like people might
Go ahead.
I have heard from other people that they've gotten like shouted at on the street,
Mm.
but I've never been I think yeah, I feel I feel very safe dressing up in silly clothes that I find cool or funny.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Very cool. I have a few more questions, and obviously, if you are listening and here in the audience, feel free to put your questions into the chat. I have the next questions that I'm gonna ask. I only need to hear from you if it's relevant to you. So I won't make you all answer if you don't have a strong feeling. So just unmute yourself if I ask this question and you have something to say. But this is about like sports and exercise and what your attitude is towards like I don't know. I think of it as sweating as sports. But I think there's a few aspects here. So, as you're thinking about whether you have a response to this one, it could be the team aspect because there are sometimes social issues with sports. But it could also be the sensory stuff, which is why I see sports and I just think about sweating, which is the reason why the only sport I do is swimming. But so whether it's a physical thing or we talked with Nikolas about stomach issues, there can also be with sports some physical issues, Ehlers-Danlos or hypermobility or stomach issues that come up. So I'm wondering if for any of you, you have a very strong, if I don't exercise all the time, then I feel dysregulated, or more like me, exercising makes me feel dysregulated. Does anything come up for anyone around this? Do any of you either love sports
Can
or
I?
hate them? Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I have a very positive attitude to sport because I'm a former athlete and cyclist, and so the sports helped me to be myself, just to be myself, just to relax, and uh, sometimes unwind my mind, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it helped me to, and helps, still helps. Uh, when I do, gym as as well, and it helps me to refresh and restart my brain because I can pay attention to something else than my sense of smell.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
it still runs in the background, but it's not too aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. That's great.
And I, of course, met some good people in the sport, and as I did sports for disabled people, because I have cerebral palsy as well,
Oh.
and as I was involved in sport for disabled people, we were more like family,
Hmm.
supporting each other and understand each other, So it's something totally different from the public approach.
Yeah. Because because the sport is at the center of those friendships, do you find it makes some of the social issues easier for you, or do you not struggle with social issues?
Sorry, again?
Well, I'll ask it in two parts. Do you struggle with social issues, with friendships, with making friends? Is that hard for you or not so hard?
It's quite difficult.
Yes.
Quite
Okay.
difficult.
So then when you are doing sports, does it make some of the social stuff easier because you can all talk about the bike or whatever, that you all have the same thing to talk about.
Yeah, more great. You know,
Yeah.
it was like more easy for me.
Mm-hmm. Very helpful.
Much easier
Much easier.
than
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Mary, what are your thoughts on sports activities?
Yeah, uh well it's like I don't I can enjoy I like the feeling of like moving my body of of the it's just yeah uh it's, I I've always wanted to be a lot more athletic than I am. But
Mm,
it's yeah it's like um but yeah but it's
you're still,
I
yeah, okay.
I I keep I feel like I keep getting weaker and the weaker I feel, the more difficult it is to like do anything.
That makes
It's
sense.
it's the it's the infinite loop of deteriorating slowly.
So, if you had to choose between doing something alone, like biking or running or swimming, something you can, or going to the gym, or a team sport like, I don't know, netball or football or something like that, do you gravitate towards alone things or with people?
Uh, I think definitely like the alone things because I can't I can't handle competitive games or like I don't enjoy it at
Hmm.
all. The because I feel like yeah, it's either I win or I my feelings hurt.
I understand that. Yeah, and I obviously you can be competitive with yourself, but it's different. You can, not that I have never hurt my own feelings. You can hurt your own feelings, but
Right?
yeah.
But it's that's like more fun.
Yeah. Um, Nicholas, I wanted to ask you this next question, but if other people have thoughts on this, I'd love to hear from you as well. But somebody asked about how do you prefer that people ask you about your needs or the accommodations that you want? Like, how do you want people to ask you about what you need? If that makes sense.
Well, um, you know, usually I don't really ask people about accommodations. I do things myself. Um, but when I have someone like my mother
Hmm.
who makes me food, for example, I let her do it. I don't, when I have to do something, I do it myself. But when, when I have someone else that can do it for me, I let them do it. That's how it happens with me. But if someone was to do something for me, I I usually when someone like me that's autistic is irritable,
Hmm.
um, that can happen a lot when you want something to be done. And I mean, that's not just for autistics, that's for everybody.
Sure.
But specifically when people that have autism uh, want to do something or want something to happen, they can be irritable. And even the person that has autism has a difficulty saying this, but I've learned quite recently, like a month ago, 2 months ago, that it's easier for me to just say, I don't want to talk right now. Leave me alone. Let's talk about this 5 minutes later.
Hmm.
So I think that helps a lot of people. Like if my mother comes, for example, and if I was like a parent and I saw my kid was irritable and wanted something, I would ask him if he wants to come 5 minutes later to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah. And if people ask you, like, what's wrong or are you okay? And you are in that, agitated or stressed out place, what what do you wish if somebody sees that you're stressed out? Do you wish that they wouldn't say, are you okay? Or do you like that? Does that feel helpful?
I don't like it. I
It
like to be
drives
by
me crazy.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to be by myself.
And I mean, you can't always walk away, but if somebody says to you, like, are you okay? Or what's wrong? Do you just walk away? Or what do you say, like, please don't ask me that? What do you say?
Well, a lot of people, because I don't seem to be autistic to a lot of people, because I've learned how to act in different ways, and I've learned to control my mannerism.
Hmm.
So I try to talk in a way that doesn't, it's almost natural to this point, acting a certain way
Yeah.
for me. So I usually, when, for example, if it's someone I know, because that plays a big importance to me, because I don't like talking to strangers that I don't care about, like people on the street, for example. I don't like talking to people I don't know. But if someone like my mother goes and does that to me, I would be fine. I wouldn't I wouldn't walk away or something. But if like a classmate I don't care about
Uh-huh.
asks me, because in school I'm quiet, I would say. So uh I would probably not talk back to them. That's how I usually act. So that's how I
You would just
personally
be,
act.
Oma, do you feel like, I don't know, does the word disassociate resonate? Like, does it feel like you just kind of check out?
Well, I don't have just autism. I have not diagnosed, but we know that I have problems with connecting with people, like some type of antisocial condition,
Mm.
you know. So it's really hard for me to feel people's pain, and I'm not empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see like people getting hurt, I don't feel anything for them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that's been a problem for me
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my mother, because she gets really sad about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really hard. But I also think, like, just like the word spectrum, like, there's such a spectrum of empathy that is, some people experience it very extreme, some people experience it in, like, super strongly for animals but not for people, or for people they know but not for strangers. So I think it's probably more normal that in nature there's just a range of experiences, but in society we have expectations for, like, it should be like this. So I bet you are not the only one who is having the experiences you're
Yeah.
having.
Well, I think, as I've said, my childhood experience has been lonely. I've always been by myself. So I think that's where it stems from, my apathy, you know. But
Yeah,
this is not about autism,
right.
this is about something else.
Well, I think for many of us, like, trauma and autism are so interconnected because we're misunderstood that it's hard to tell how to separate
Yeah.
things. Yeah. Thank you for sharing so honestly. I think it's so rare to hear these perspectives and you're so
Well, I
clear.
came here to express my feelings. I didn't come here to talk about like, specific questions. I wanted to come here to talk about things because I feel very at ease talking to a screen than to a person. I feel
Ah,
like I'm not talking to anybody but a reflection right now to give you a sense of
interesting.
understanding.
Yeah.
So I re I really wanna let some stress out with telling everything.
Huh. Very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am gonna, I think, pause the action very briefly to introduce you all to one more panelist, assuming they are ready to join us. Konstantina, are you okay if I add you to our little community here? Fantastic. And I'm just going to ask you to say hello. Sometimes when I watch videos, I am looking away and multitasking. So if you're listening and you want to know what happened, we have a new fourth panelist joining us. This is Konstantina. And just as means of saying hello, Konstantina, can you first tell us your pronouns, tell us where you are, make sure I'm saying your name correctly, and also if you have a way you like to be described, autistic, autist, person with autism, tell me how you like to describe your neurodivergent status.
At first, I would say you are Konstantina is my name. So you are right.
Okay.
I'm from Greece, and I would like to say autistic because it's a part of me.
Okay. Because it's your identity.
Yes, it's my identity. It's not another thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing. And what are your preferred pronouns?
Um, I.
Oh,
Can
do
you
you she, her, they, he, him?
No, it's
Everybody else said anything.
yes, yes, not she, not he.
Okay.
I will fight in future that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's a battle for another day, people. Very nice. Konstantina, since you're here, I'm going to ask you a question. And that is maybe you can tell us for you, what makes a meeting like this? It could be online, an online space, it could be in person, but what makes that a neurodivergent friendly space or an autistic friendly space for you? What are some things that you like to make you feel more comfortable in a meeting like this one?
At first, the acceptance, of course, from everyone. It's my first time that I speak to another language of mine, and in such a lot of people.
Well, you have acceptance here. It's very
I
nice to
had
hear
a
your
little bit
perspective.
stress, and I think you can understand that.
Yes. Well,
Uh,
you're doing great, and we appreciate you being here and sharing your perspective. Um, Thomas, I'm wondering for you, are there things either in person or online that you think makes a space not only more friendly, like nerd?
then not to be so loud with a lot of people. I like more free spaces in outside, not so closed.
Oh,
Or
you like to be
to,
outside. Do you feel like, do you
yes,
feel claustrophobic if
or
it's
to
a small
have
room?
an easy way to come out of a specific place, of a closed
An
place.
easy way to exit. That's
Yes,
such a
yes,
good
yes,
point. That's a great point. I'm going to jump over to Thomas now and ask
yes, of
him.
course. Yes.
Thomas,
Thank
I'm
you very much.
interested in your perspective on this, not just as an autistic person, but also because you have talked about having multiple disabilities. And are there some things that make a space inaccessible to you, maybe because of smells or other reasons?
Uh, Mainly because of smells.
Yeah.
Stairs could be a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes. And as I get overwhelmed, very easy sometimes. It's crowded places, discos, and people where there. Sorry, there were the place where there are more sorry crowded people, so lots of people in one space. It's a problem for me. Although I'm okay with going to a disco sometimes, but I need to leave after 2 hours because I get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Time.
So
That's a big
and
one.
so
What did you think of Constantina's point about having a clear escape route, like a clear path out? Because you mentioned crowded spaces being challenging.
For me,
No, Thomas. Tom,
sorry.
When Constantina mentioned having a clear path out, did that resonate with you as something that's important to you, that you know where the exit is or it's easy to leave? You don't have to go through a crowd?
Can we repeat it, please?
Yes. When you're in a space and
Hmm.
it's difficult to see the exit or to get to the exit, is that stressful for you? Is it better to have that clear path to an exit?
I first look where the exit is
Hmm.
and be nearly this, and so I could escape. I can escape quickly.
Is that something you think about? Like when you go into, do you actually think
Yeah,
about that? Yeah.
before I go, you know, I can be on the dance floor as well for 5 minutes, not more. And then I have a favorite club, in Brno here.
Okay.
Uh, and there's a very easy exit, so I can go whenever I want, really quickly, really
That's
quickly.
probably why it's your favorite club.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Good share. Mary, are there things for you that make a space more comfortable?
And, a physical space?
Yeah, or online. Like, is it more comfortable for you to have your camera off, even though you, thank you, have it on for me today? But are there certain things that make you feel more yourself and less like you have to mask or perform when you're in a space?
I think always having a friend there helps.
Ooh, I like that answer. That's really good.
I I've yeah.
Has that been easy for you or hard for you? Nicholas mentioned earlier, like only having one friend. I've heard that over and over from autistic people. Have
It,
you found it easy or hard to make friends or keep friends?
I think it's uh difficult to make friends. It's like I'm in a constant process of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Um I made a few friends uh in like the first and third grade, so I've held on to to two of those ones for as long as I can.
Uh-huh. Very
And
good.
and yeah, so it's like yeah, it's very nice to have like at least like at least like one friend who's like trustworthy that I like even if I'm not sure that I am like 100% the truest version of myself around them. I know who I am around that friend, so I know how to act, and it's 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 very comforting to have them around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When when did you find out you were autistic? When did you either identify or get diagnosed?
I was I think I was diagnosed as a like young teenager. Uh uh my mother just just pushed to get me diagnosed, and and but I like I personally had not really looked into autism or thought anything of it.
Did
I
she
thought
like figure it out? Was she like, "Oh, Mary is definitely autistic. I have to get her diagnosed," or was she like, "Ah, I think there's something I don't know."
she figured
She figured it out. Yeah.
she's
She clocked it.
it's- yeah, it was it was important to get me diagnosed. But yeah, but but I myself didn't like understand what autistic traits I had until after that.
And was that helpful for you? Were you like, "Oh, this explains things," or were you like, Is everyone making a big deal about this?"
I don't know. It just no. I just think I just I just settled into it. I've I like I it's the before I'd look at the like there's a stories from autistic people that I had heard were not relatable
Hmm.
as I only heard things like it felt like some people feel like they're like less uh like they know less than everyone else around them, but I felt like I knew more than everyone else around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Oh, that's a
so
theme for
I had
you.
I had that kind of challenges. I thought I was the uh I when other people thought I was strange, I thought that was like a fault of theirs and not mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You're like, I
I
don't know what's wrong with them.
yeah, yeah, it's like yeah, I've learned insecurity since then.
Hmm.
And but I I still it still feels uh also very me that I don't uh yeah, I don't see like things about me as faults about myself. They're just
Mm.
they're just what it's like to be a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Nicholas, you mentioned that you grew up partly in Texas, of all places. I'm wondering if there are things about US culture that you think were easier or harder for you, or if there are any other experiences you've had abroad where you realize this works better here than in Greece, or cultural differences.
Well, um, when I was in Texas, it was until I was 6. Then I came to Greece. So
You don't really remember?
I remember that I was happy when I was in
Mm.
America when I was little. And many years, uh, I always wanted to go back. I said I hated this place. But later, I realized that it's not the place you are in, it's who you are.
Mm.
So I try to change myself first, then the place around me.
Hmm. Yeah. Does anyone else have experiences where you have maybe traveled or made friends online from other countries and realized differences that might suit you better in different countries? There's a podcast I heard that was called something like, it might be a YouTube channel, but it's, is it autistic or is it Swedish? And I was like, oh, that's very funny. I don't know anything about Sweden, but I just thought it was very funny. So I wonder if there's certain cultures you've been exposed to that you have personally just felt more comfortable in.
I have something to say. Um, I really like, it's not like culture, but I like the feeling of, minimalistic things.
Oh,
It's kind of like a quirk. I
yeah.
like,
Well, Meri's in Finland. You guys have a very minimalistic design style. I wonder it, no? Don't you have like kind of Scandinavian design? I wonder if you go to like, I don't know, Versailles, or you think about like castles and palaces that are more maximalist design. Does that make you feel more stressed out? And when you see that clean minimalist design, it feels more calm?
I don't know, minimalist design is not calming.
No? Do you like more like ornate, like comfy, cozy blankets, pictures?
Yeah, I like a little bit of visual clutter.
Oh, I love that you know that. Very cool. Does anyone else feel that way? Like more things to look at is more stimulating for you? Or Nicholas, it sounds like when you see a super like clean minimalist design, it's more soothing for your nervous system.
not exactly.
No, how
It's
would you
more
describe?
like I feel like it's very interesting to look at. I think minimalistic, stuff like that is just something sometimes I see something like a white wall that looks a certain way. It's just an example. And it feels so weird to look at something like that. It feels like it's something I've never seen before.
Ah,
Like
interesting.
lines or lights, colorful lights, or like lines on the wall. It feels sometimes it feels so weird to look at them.
So in you guys represent three different countries, and we have like Northern Europe, we have a more southeast, southwest, I mean. So we've got like different areas. And I'm wondering if you can each share a little bit about the to the extent that you know it, but the accommodations in school systems that you experienced if you were in schools and you had accommodations, and maybe we can talk about how they're similar or different. So I don't know if any of you still in school. in university or
I am in school. I'm
you're
15.
Oh, you're still in school. Okay, cool. So, can we talk about you could start us off, Nicholas, since you were unmuted. But what are some of the accommodations that you have had in school? And if you don't call them accommodations, whatever they call them. So, like extra time on tests or being able to be in a different room, or what kinds of accommodations have you had?
Well, I used to have accommodations, but I myself quit. I said I don't want anything. So yeah.
What did they try to do? Did they like
Uh,
stim toys or
no, nothing like that. I had like an extra type of teacher that was with me. Uh, because I was when I came, I said all the stories. I was really aggressive with other kids, so they had another teacher for me to keep me under control. Um,
Mm. So like behavioral. It sounds like
yeah,
there's a very behavioral orientation in general. Konstantina, since you're also from Greece, Nicholas and you are both in Greece.
Yes.
And so for school accommodations and how teachers and schools taught you, did they want your behavior to change? Like, is it a like
Yes,
you're bad, act like this?
yes.
Yeah.
But when I am now I have finished school and I have and the university. My first, I do MSc now.
Okay.
Yes, but it's very difficult, and I diagnosed after school, so it was extra difficult for me because when I was going in school, I didn't know that I was autistic. Autistic.
Well, when did you find out?
Uh, and now I am 23 years old. When I was 20.
Oh, wow. So you went
Yes,
all the way through school and you
yes,
didn't
yes,
know.
yes.
Oh, that must have been
But
so hard.
although I was always the first at all, I have 12 in at all lessons.
And
So
you were the first? Do you mean you had very good grades?
yes, yes,
Yes.
my grades were very well.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
And so do
other
you
other with friends with time always I was very stressful. um
because like deadlines made you stressed? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Tomas, how about in the Czech Republic? What is the approach? Is it a more behavioralist, like they want you to change? Or did you find that the accommodations were set up to change the environment at school to fit you?
Uh, I attended a school for students with disabilities, so we had some things covered. Uh, so uh, so teachers were very uh, kind and good. We had specific plans. What is it? What is it called? Specific uh, learning plans or something like that. So we all had a paper where is stated what what the school have to do for us to be
Ah,
more productive, and I don't know what is it called in English, but in Czech we call it individuální plán, nebo specifický plán učení. Specific.
I'm going to tell you the American word. It's individualized education plan.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
sounds like
exactly.
it's almost the same.
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. So, but I was diagnosed with autism when I was 28, 6 years ago, and you know, they didn't get through my autism. I knew something was wrong with me, and I had to fit it, fit in. I had to fit in. As for the autism, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because they were aware only of my physical disability and learning difficulties, and
Mm-hmm.
where and autism is a neurological disorder. Let's say that. I don't know, that affects you from your birth to your death. So I had to fit in as for the autism
Yeah.
because I wasn't diagnosed at school.
So you
So
didn't have any accommodation, like Constantina, you went all the way through school with no accommodations for your autism. Obviously, some other things you had accommodations for, but
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly.
wow. And Mary, you too. You didn't find out until well, you're in are you in university now?
Yeah, I'm like in vocational school.
Okay. And do you feel like you can ask for what you need? Do you feel like it's an environment where you can ask for adjustments if something wasn't working for you?
I have a well, I I have an experience of not getting much help from
Mm.
like stuff. Though uh though I feel like the teachers that I've had, they're well intentioned.
Mm.
uh they- I had my issue uh uh when it was like uh my issue back in like school, like from all the way from first grade, was that I did not do homework. I
Okay.
I wouldn't do the things because I felt like they were too easy.
Uh-huh.
And then I fell off and I couldn't keep doing them, and then I got this perfectionism problem where I thought I needed to do them well, so I didn't do them at all. Uh and then but then the only like solutions that were like offered was like easier. They would try to lessen the workload, give me easier work,
Mm-hmm.
try to like uh and like beg me to just do one thing, but I yeah is uh
It
all
doesn't sound like a great experience, Mary.
all special education could offer was a was was uh was like a special education teacher who would just constantly dote on you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that it doesn't, does anyone feel like they had a great educational experience, like a teacher or a school that got you? Thomas, it sounds like you had some good aspects to your school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I have some teachers were less friendly, some were more friendly. You know, yes, yes.
Where do you see the biggest gap between like policies about inclusion and then the way it actually happens? So, like the rules, what they say, everyone's going to be included, everyone's welcomed, we want everyone, and then what you actually see in real life.
That's the reality of our school system now in Czech
Mm-hmm.
Republic. They
Right.
they were. I think inclusion is uh, a good tool, but badly prepared in the Czech Republic. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they try to merge autistic people in normal school, people with physical disability in normal school, and I can't ima- I wouldn't be able to get it through.
Yep.
If I was uh inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, I think I wouldn't be able to manage it.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that the inclusion didn't didn't
Get pushed on you, forced on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you.
Look,
Thank you.
I'm able to read your mind now. I feel like we've spent so much time together. I didn't mean to speak for you. I just felt like I knew you were going. So thank you for being generous with me on that. Mary, I feel
I
like, oh yeah, Nicholas, go ahead. You have
yeah,
an opinion on this? The difference between what people
I
say and
had a teacher for what you said earlier,
yeah.
and he became friends with my family. So he was very helpful. For some reason, he really liked being around me, and he became friends with my parents. He was really helpful around the time, when I was a couple of years ago. We were so that's an experience I had.
That's great.
Yeah,
Um,
about school, that's the person who helped me.
yeah.
School system. But in our school system, there wasn't a really big thing about kids with autism. Um, I just couldn't control like my emotions and how I acted. I acted, like the weird autistic kid.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
same.
So people disliked me a lot because I had autism and it showed. And even the school system, didn't care if people picked on me or bullied me.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like their messaging was different than that? Like they were saying we believe in inclusion, but then what they were doing was different than what they were actually
Yeah,
saying? Yeah.
yeah, but in in general terms, I think it doesn't really matter, if someone says they're inclusive or they're not, because in reality, nobody is inclusive about anybody. We all put ourselves first, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. You're so philosophical. Oh my goodness.
Well, because I spend a lot of time alone, I tend to think about things like this, and I've come to conclusions about stuff.
We are almost out of time. You guys have been so generous, so forthcoming to the audience. Thank you for asking your great questions. The last question I'm going to ask each of you guys before we say goodbye to you is actually a combination of three questions we got. So you will be able to select from each of these, but um, part of what happens when you identify is you have the chance to help others. And each of you today have been advocates for yourself, which I think you've all modeled beautifully how you do that, but also advocates for others. And we all go through our own journey and our own process, but there are people and resources along the way that have helped us. So, the question that we were asked was, do you know of any websites, experts, or speakers that has helped you personally that you would like to recommend? So, as I say goodbye to each of you and thank you all, I would love to know if there is a book, a resource, a website, a TikToker, a YouTuber, or any resource that you would like to leave as a gift, as a little breadcrumb trail to people who are on this journey with you. So I hate putting you on the spot. So does anyone want to go first and have someone you know you want to recommend? If so, you can just jump in and say it. Otherwise, I will call on you, but I hate doing that.
I would like to say Eftalia Kalderoglu is a YouTuber that she every week on Sunday she makes a video with difficulties of autistic people. For me, it's so helpful, and I would like to see to go here with my mother and have the opportunity to understand see more me, my problems, my all mindful mind. Yes, this. And these are the most difficulties of me. Friends, acceptance, this.
Friends, acceptance, and was there a third one?
The most are these.
The friends and acceptance. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, listen, what a
I'm
beautiful
not,
idea to watch a YouTube with your mom or someone that so you don't have to figure out how to express it. You could just say, like, what that person said. That's how I feel. So thank you for being here, Konstantina. It's been great to have your voice.
I'm only a neurodiverse. I have a different way of thinking. I'm not something other, or I'm not something else. I haven't a problem. This.
Yes.
Uh,
There's
they
nothing wrong with you. You're just neurodivergent.
the most of people think that autism or other our problems are like to have illness,
Yeah.
not illness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an illness. Yeah, they're problems, they're human problems. I think Mary has also expressed that here too. So you're not alone in feeling that.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so who else has a resource or an idea or something they would like to share, like Constantina so beautifully demonstrated for us?
I can't. I think I just like art in general, and I like a lot of art by a lot of different people. So I yeah I've
But do you also do it? Is it looking at art or is it actually like creating that has been helpful for you?
it's listening to art, it's watching art, it's reading art, and it's making art. It's it's all it's there's like yeah. So I can't think of like a specific
No, I think
big
that's
channel
just
to recommend.
a perfect piece of advice. For me, it's writing. But I totally agree, like learning how you best express yourself. So maybe it's watercolor, or maybe it's sculpture, or like it could be anything, but finding art for yourself is a beautiful suggestion. And
And
you,
like and it's like to like uh and finding art that like expresses your or that like really relates to like the autistic experiences.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally, 100%. Great advice. Thanks for being such an amazing member of the panel. Nicholas, you
Yeah.
are next, friend. What is a resource, website, book, expert, movie? What do you recommend?
For research, I'd like to. I like people to actually think about themselves for a minute. And I believe generally, and even more people with autism like me should not base anything on other people, but actually basing on themselves. Um, they should not expect anything from others. Always think about what they want first. That's what I would like to say, and that's what helped me a lot, because I used to really care about what other people thought about me, and I always cared about how I looked for other people and how I sounded. And the moment I stopped caring about that, my life became a lot easier. That fact,
Yeah.
and you know,
It's great.
I was
It's great advice.
uh,
I'm gonna pause you only because we are slightly over
yeah,
time.
yeah, okay, it's all right.
But so many great ideas. So thank you so much for sharing. Thomas, that means you get the final word today, my friend. What is a resource you would like to share with our audience?
I can't remember of anything right now. I tried. They are mostly in Czech, you know.
Yes.
So Drdavá holka, Autism Port, uh, um, what is uh Wayman? What it is?
Oh, did that help you?
Uh, not much. I want to say that it's not. People often, when they see Rain Man, they often think it is all autistic. All autistic are like that, you know, like the Rain Man. No, they are not, and that's the bad showing of someone on the autism. It just make it. Slipped the word that from my mind. It's just I just want to say it's not good for him to see on how autistic people look like.
Hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
You know? And as for some, uh, I can't remember of anything international right now. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't be sorry. Your presence here has been so helpful to all of us, and you're always allowed to say, I don't have an answer to that question. So we got lots of great answers. It has been so amazing spending time with you. I am Dr. Angela Kingdon from the Autistic Culture Institute. And this, what you have been part of, is Ask an Autistic by Activate, which stands for Autistic Community through Advocacy, Training, and Empowerment. You guys all just got a dose of advocacy and empowerment, a little bit of training. You got a whole lot of community led by Meri, Nikolas, Tomas, and Konstantina. Thank you so much, you guys, for representing, for being who you are. This program is really all about you learning who you are, how to advocate for yourself, and how autistic young people across Europe can be equipped with the practical tools to be able to speak with the confidence that you heard from Nikolas, Meri, Tomas, and Konstantina. That is a journey. If that is not where you are, that is not where any of us were at different points in our journey, and also in different relationships. So if you learned something today, just know that that is something that's inside you. There are amazing resources at neuroadvocacy.eu. I know this has been very English centric today. I appreciate you bearing with me, and I hope that you have been able to access this material in the language that is most comfortable for you. Obviously, for me, that's English, but Konstantina, Nikolas, Thomas, Meri, thank you so much for defaulting to the common language. I wish I could speak all of your beautiful languages. To neuroadvocacy.eu and everybody at Activate, at Erasmus, and at UCAP, thank you so much for hosting us today. I hope you have learned something. If you have, please share this and share this work. That is a bit of advocacy that you can do to help other autistic people. Share, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time at Ask an Autist.
So much. Have a nice day.
Bye, guys. Ciao.
Bye bye. Thanks
Good
for
job, everyone.
you're so kind.